Hey personal developers, welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, that's it, welcome. If it's not your first time here, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Before I say anything, if you didn't already, please hit that subscribe button, okay? And if you did, thank you, hi! Okay, so today I am going to share with you the first part of a conversation I had with my good friend Ivana. She is going to walk us through how is it to live with an autoimmune disease, especially MS. I mean, if you suffer from an autoimmune disease, this is going to be a great episode for you. If you do not suffer from an autoimmune disease, this is going to be a great episode to you as well, because I mean, the information in here is gold. I think you're gonna love it. Let me know in the comments after. Mwah! Okay everyone, so as you know from the intro, I have my good friend Ivana with me today, and I am really excited to have her here. This is a topic that I wanted to talk to you about because I know that you have an autoimmune disease, but it's not like it's something that we talk about. It's just something that I know. And you just walk so gracefully and just talk so lightly about it that I wanted to bring you in to talk to my audience about it. So just for people to know a little bit more about yourself, so Ivana is a yoga teacher and she is also a coach. She is a great writer. I'm waiting for her book to come out. How long is it going to take, Ivana?
I don't know yet. I'm still working on it.
Yeah. So this girl has been like everywhere. She lived in Germany, in the UK, uh, in the
In the US.
USA, and in the most recent years, she has been in India, like for years as well. So you have got a lot to tell, but today let's talk about the autoimmune disease. I don't know if I forgot about something. Do you think that the audience should know something about yourself that I didn't mention?
And also, I want people to know that I used to be a former lawyer. I was on
Oh.
the track of like, I'm going to become a lawyer, I'm going to work in an office. And then my accident happened and everything just turned around. And I'd like to talk to you about that. So, the way an autoimmune disease, first, for people that don't know, is when your body starts to attack itself. It doesn't have like a foreign sickness or cancer. It actually just thinks that there's something wrong and it starts to attack itself. So some common autoimmune diseases are lupus, Lyme disease, MS. I have MS, which is multiple sclerosis. And I'll talk a little bit more later about what exactly that is. But I just happened to find out by happenstance. I was out one night and the night was finished. It was about 2 in the morning and we were heading home. We were in a taxi, an Uber. And all of a sudden we got T-boned by another car, which means that a car hit us on the side. And I hit my head against the window and I just had this horrible concussion. It just had this pounding headache that wouldn't go away. So for like days I kept on calling the doctor, and I finally, to be safe, they sent me for an MRI scan, and that's how they found out that I have lesions on my brain. So in multiple sclerosis, what happens is that you have lesions on your brain or on your spine or both. And what that really means is that you have neurons in your head, which are like message centers. One neuron says, I need to pee, and it sends a message to another neuron, and the other neuron's like, oh, okay, let's go to the bathroom. And the neurons are connected with each other by a wire, and the wire has protective coating, just like a cell phone wire. You know, when we charge our phone, it has that protective white coating. And when our cat eats that white coating, it exposes the wire, and then what happens? Our cell phone charger doesn't work anymore. So it's kind of the same concept. In MS, that white coating, the protective coating, eats away at itself and it disappears. So when it disappears, the connection is left open, and what can happen is that the connection can break. And so when this breaks, one neuron says, I need to go pee, but the other neuron does not receive that message. So then what happens is that you pee yourself. That's just an example. That's just a very simple example of what can happen. So you have all these neurons and connections all over your brain, and basically over time, MS starts to eat away at the protective coating, and the wires start to break apart, and you can no longer communicate basic things. So what you see is that people who have MS, they have problems with their balance. They can no longer walk in a straight line. Sometimes they have to drag one foot, or like I said, they pee or poop themselves because they can't control their bowel movements. Sometimes they have really bad headaches, or they get what's called an MS hug. And I've never had this, but I had a friend explain it to me. She said that an MS hug feels like you're wearing a corset and you have sandpaper all over you that's constantly scratching you and it won't let go.
Wow.
I've never experienced this. I've been very lucky, and I like to say this at the very beginning, is that I've not had any symptoms that are typical to MS people, which I think is why it took so long to diagnose me properly.
Mm-hmm. That's very good to mention. Just before I forget, I saw a TED talk on YouTube, and
Hmm.
it was this lady talking about autoimmune diseases. She talks more about lupus, but the way she explained it, I think it's beautiful. And if you want to know more about this, or if you are faced with a diagnosis and don't know where to start, or if you have doubts about it, I think it's great just to check this talk. It's a very short talk. It's about 13 minutes, I think. It's what happens when the immune system goes rogue. And
Ah,
she
okay.
explained this like so beautifully, simply. Like, you know, if you are an idiot like myself, like I don't suffer from this disease, and I am here as a student today. You know what I mean? I'm here
Mm-hmm.
listening to you, and I'm here as a student. So for me, watching that talk was like, oh, okay, I got it. So
Mm-hmm.
the immune system goes crazy and starts
Mm-hmm.
behaving in a complete different way. It doesn't
Yes.
fulfill its functions. It goes the other
Mm-hmm.
way. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was very enlightening. I was like, okay, got it. So if you want
Mm-hmm.
to watch that talk, please do.
Yes.
For me, it was very useful, and it shed a light
Mm-hmm.
on the subject. And
Mm-hmm.
about the diagnosis, I also read that the diagnosis usually it's very difficult, and it's usually a long process
Yes.
for people to actually get diagnosed with an autoimmune disease.
Yes,
um,
because it mimics, especially with MS, it mimics so many other diseases. It's very difficult to narrow down that this is what you have.
mhm.
So you
Wow.
need, when I first heard about it and I didn't know anything about it, what happened was that after my car accident, I did the MRI and I was just sitting in the office one day waiting for the results when the doctor calls me and he says, "You have demyelinating disease." And I didn't even know what that was. And so he had to spell it out for me and I had to write it down on a piece of paper. And that was it. And he's like, "I need you to come back to have another MRI done." And I
Mhm.
was devastated. The first thing I did, I go to Google, I typed in demyelinating disease, I start reading about it, and I'm devastated because I start seeing all these horrible things. And then
Mhm.
I do the next thing, I go on YouTube and I research it some more and I start reading more about it and I start listening to people that have it and what they're doing and how they're feeling. And I just remember crying at work all the time because I thought my life was over. I was so devastated. I thought that I wouldn't be able to do anything. I didn't know what to do. But I had a really good
Mhm.
boss, and I'm glad I was able to share with him what happened. He said, because I already had the trip to India planned, he goes, "You go to India because there's nothing you can do. This is always going to be the same. But you go ahead and you go to India and then see if you want to come back and see what happens. But don't cancel your trip." And I'm so glad I had him to talk to
Oh.
because he was so encouraging and uplifting.
Yeah, I believe that, and your experience is telling us that receiving a diagnosis like that, I imagine that it can only be like heartbreaking.
Mhm.
I had I'm a very healthy person. I never had major diseases or anything like happened to
Mhm.
me. I never had surgery, like for nothing.
Mhm.
And one day I fell and my coccyx was just like it hurt a lot, and I was so scared, you know. I was like crying
Mhm.
in bed, thinking about, you know what, I'm never going to be able to do yoga again. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm not going
Mhm.
to do
Yes.
vinyasa, like it's over. And it was very scary, especially like if you are a young person and you have got the entire life ahead of you. I
Mhm.
imagine that receiving news like this, it just puts everything in perspective, and you can go
Yes.
one way and say, okay, I'm done, you know, I give up
Mhm.
life, let's just whatever. Or you can say, you know what, I have got to live my life because
Mhm.
it's not going to change anything. And I'm
Mhm.
so glad that you that you had someone to tell you, you know what, just
Yes.
move on with your life.
Yes, that really helped me. And I love what you mentioned about yoga because I feel like that's the only thing that saved me because that entire month when I was like got the diagnosis or the results and
Mm-hmm.
then up to because at that point I still wasn't diagnosed with MS. All I had was called demyelinating disease, which is what I talked about. It's the myelin, that protective covering is being eaten away, which does not mean that it's multiple sclerosis just yet. It just means that it's being eaten away. And I'm that entire month I was going to yoga religiously. I felt like that was my religion. I was going all the time, and I feel like that helped me so much. And the more research I did, the more I found out that people have been using alternate therapies like Tai Chi,
Mm-hmm.
yoga, Qigong, to practice and to help them. Because with MS and with autoimmune diseases, what happens is that a stressful happens in your life, and then your autoimmune goes out of whack. So it's very important for us to keep our stress levels low and not get stressed over simple things. Because the
Oh.
more stress that you have, and depending on what kind of diet you're eating, the more it can badly affect your body and send you into an episode. So what other
Mm-hmm.
people have with stress, like they have a normal response to stress, people with autoimmune disease don't. And so we have to be very careful and make sure that we're not get stressed out. And what can help with that is yoga. And I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
believer in that.
Oh, that's so
And I
beautiful.
saw one doctor because I have lesions in the brain and on my neck. And he told me that he can't believe that I'm walking because of where my lesion on my neck is. And that just confirmed to me that because of my yoga practice for the past 10 or so or more years, I've been able to walk completely and not even know that anything affects me. So you never know. Like, don't, you go to these doctors and they tell you all these things, but I believe in the power of the body to heal itself. And I'm a big believer in that. And, they don't know you. They're just giving you statistics on what they know from other patients. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen to you. So if you know that something is working for you, like yoga, then continue to practice yoga. When they first discovered MS, they used to tell people not to exercise, which was really bad for people actually, because then it made them even more sedentary, and then it caused their muscles to go away, and then they
Yes.
ended up in a wheelchair. So, we're still learning about this disease. We're still changing medications. Everything is still there's no cure for it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lifelong disease, and they believe that it's going to get worse over time, is what they say. And what can
Mm-hmm.
happen is that you can end up in a wheelchair, and that is my biggest fear, is that I will end up in a wheelchair. But then I have to tell myself, no, like look at everything you've been through in life. You're not going to end up in a wheelchair because you're going to continue to do the things that you know help and work for you.
Yeah, and you, with your attitude, you have been challenging what was supposed to happen to you.
Mhm.
I heard of some cases that people were told, you know what, forget about it. In 5 years, you're not going to be able to walk. And
Mhm.
we do
Mhm.
have stuff online, people like yourself, who are challenging this. So when you get a diagnosis, I believe that it's like, yes, it is a diagnosis. Yes, it is a fact.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
how you are going to react to it and what is going to happen to you, no one can actually like predict 100%.
Mhm.
And I do know, not from experience, but I do know that the psychological factor is very, very important. Like there
Mhm.
are
Yes.
studies in with people who pray, and and if you pray you get better soon and stuff like that. There are a lot
Yeah.
of stuff online, like so like interesting stuff. I'm not religious,
Yeah.
I'm spiritual, but I
Mhm.
mean I've heard of amazing things, and the power of positive thinking
Yes.
and everything. It may not perform. I'm sorry, someone is calling me. I forgot to shut this down. It may not perform a miracle,
Mhm.
but who knows?
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's all about your attitude. We see that with everything, with everyone that goes to a hospital. It's about your attitude of how, are you going to overcome this? How do you feel about it? Like, what is your attitude about it? Like, to me, I have an autoimmune disease and I will deal with it as I get more symptoms. Right now, I don't have any symptoms, and I'm so lucky not to have any symptoms, even though, like, I've had it for such a long time. It's been almost 4 years now since I first discovered it. And I believe that I'm going to live my life and not have any symptoms because I'm monitoring it. I'm eating
Mhm.
healthy. That's another thing that they talk about, is like when you have an autoimmune disease, is to start to change your diet and to stop eating food that causes inflammation in your body.
Mhm.
So kick out gluten, kick out dairy food, and maybe red meat as well, and to see how you start to feel. And I've been following that diet for almost 3 years now, and I feel great. Like before, I was never able to have that deep sleep. You know, like when you have that deep REM sleep and you feel very rested when you wake up. I was
Mhm.
never able to have that. Like my system was always on. Like I was always like waiting for something to happen. And I think that happens because I am a survivor of war. Like there's a civil war in my country, and we left when I was very young. And so
Mhm.
like I was separated from my dad. And I'm constantly like, being reminded of that. And I never dealt with that. But now, like having to do my own self healing work and journaling about it, writing about it, facing some of the things that I've repressed for so many years, I feel so much better and so much lighter. And I can
Mhm.
have this deep sleep. And it's so important with autoimmune disease is to have that restful sleep so that you feel rested when you wake up.
Hmm. Thank you very much for saying that. You know what? Because I don't want people to think that you can be irresponsible about your
Mhm.
disease. I mean,
Mhm.
you are monitoring things. You are checking yourself every time to see if you are doing the right thing. You
Mhm.
are on a diet. You don't eat certain things. You follow all the advice for you to be
Mhm.
okay. The thing is, you focus on the now. Now you're feeling
Yep.
good, and you trust that you are going to still feel good. Hopefully, that's what is
Mhm.
going to happen. And I think it's amazing that you just mentioned that maintenance, basically.
Yes.
You really take good care of yourself, and you make sure that you are doing the right thing to deal with your disease. Would you say that spirituality has helped you deal in a
Oh,
better way?
absolutely. I feel like it saved my life. Like I sometimes I am so thankful for that accident, because if I never had that accident, I would never know I have this. If
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that accident, I would never have had the MRI to tell me you have this, and then I would never have turned my life around. Because of that accident, I decided that pursuing law was not my dream. It was not my purpose in this life. I decided I didn't want to live in Chicago anymore, because living in a big city adds a lot of stress to your life, because you always think like, oh, maybe someone is going to shoot me. You always have to like, watch your purse when you're walking down the street alone. You have to like make sure you get home in time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stress living in big cities, especially big cities like Chicago that have a lot of crime. So I decided that wasn't for me anymore. I started pursuing more of yoga. I went and I stayed in India for 2 years. And I worked in an ashram where I was able to teach people yoga and meditation. I feel like that really helped me and has really turned my life around. And so I absolutely believe that spirituality has helped me immensely.
Wow. Wow. It was like one of the questions I wanted to make. I was going to ask you, like, did this disease, like, do you feel there is like a before and after, Ivana?
Yes,
And
definitely. There is.
yes,
There is.
definitely. It completely changed
Because
your life.
the before Ivana, I used to go out all the time. I used to drink all the time. Sometimes I would have a whole bottle of wine by myself at home after work, because I was so tired and I hated my job and I just didn't want to work there anymore. But though alcohol helped, you know how it is. You numb yourself with alcohol to get over
Yes.
the pain of a life that you don't like living.
Hmm.
I used to eat junk food all the time. I was listening to all this bad music. And all we don't think about this, but like we're affected by everything. We're affected by the sounds, the lights, the air. I was living in Chicago, a high crime city. I was working in a job I didn't like. I was always having to take transportation, always being worried I was going to miss transportation if I didn't get there on time, always being under stress. Because when we're so used in the West, we're so used to work, 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 work all the time, living this
Yes.
stressful life all the time, especially lawyers. So in law, the guy that is running from court to court with a bunch of and has his hair disheveled and has a bunch of cases, everyone admires him because they think that he's busy, and that's idolized. So we idolize this stressed out lawyer instead of saying like, wow, he really needs to like, maybe like calm down a little bit, be more
Yes.
prepared, cut down on his caseload. No, we do the opposite. We idolize that kind of lifestyle. And so I was living that. I was living this stressed out life, and not being able to sleep at all, because I thought that was normal. I didn't know any better. And now when I look back at myself, like, wow, how did you even survive that? Like, How can you even say that was life? That wasn't life. That was a horrible couple of years that you were living. And now the way that I live now, I can't even compare to how I used to be. Like it's such a different, like if you'd met me back then, you wouldn't even know me. Like you would be so shocked and surprised of who I was.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy. And I love that we're having this conversation because we know each other for some time now.
Yes.
And it's that's one thing that we never spoke about because as I said before, you just carry MS so gracefully that I
Mhm.
totally forget, that you do have this.
Yes.
And it's crazy. And I just want to speak to the audience right now. Like in life, sometimes we do need something dramatic to change.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
you are listening to this conversation just out of curiosity, you're perfectly healthy, nothing happened to you, just know that you can switch your life around.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Sometimes
Mhm.
we do need this extreme thing that makes you,
Mhm.
the death in the
Yeah.
family, a disease, an accident. But if you're lucky enough and nothing happened to you, but you know that you're not living the life you want to live, like just do it, because we never know. Tomorrow
Yes.
okay, God forbid, but things happen. I'm sure that you, Ivana, you were not walking around thinking that this would happen to you, but you know
No.
what, guess what, it happened. And
Yes.
you just took life, you took the responsibility, and you said, you know what, I have this disease, but here is what I'm going to do. And you
Yes.
made some decisions based on the disease, and you made other decisions besides the disease. You were like,
Yes.
okay, yes,
I
but
feel like the disease helped me live a better life. Like it was kind of like a wake up call of like, wow, you need to cut out some things in your life. And I
yeah.
have. And you asked me something about like whether it helped my spirituality. I feel like having this disease has made my gratefulness meditation so much easier because every morning I wake up, I say, I'm so thankful I can walk. I'm so thankful I have balance. I'm so thankful I can move my hands. I'm so grateful I can grip things with my hands. I'm grateful I can swallow food. I'm grateful I can chew food. So it's all these simple things that I was taking for granted now
Yeah.
has made me be so thankful for all of them that I have.
Yeah, yeah, and this is one thing that we should all be thankful for,
Exactly.
because it's not guaranteed that tomorrow
Mhm.
we're gonna wake up as we are right now,
Mhm.
and yeah, yeah,
I agree. Yeah. I
whoa,
remember one, and this, it's weird to say, but I feel like this disease was like a blessing in disguise because it was a catalyst that made me change my life. And I'm
hmm,
so thankful that I have changed my life. I'm so thankful I am the person I am today. And I remember I was going to the doctor and he wanted me to start medication and then he said, "Oh, it's a vaccine." And I was like, "Oh, once a year?" And he goes, "No, 3 times a week." And I started laughing. Like I laughed at the doctor's face because I was so much shock. I didn't know what to do. So sometimes when I get like scared or worried or I'm in shock, I just start laughing like that
you had
nervous laugh.
like the
Like,
nervous laugh, yes.
are you joking? And I said no to him. And so this was back in 2017 when he said he wanted me to go on medication. And I said no. And I remember walking back to the office and there's these two guys that are like teenagers, probably skipping school, and they go, "Lady, you're killing it." And I felt like that was like, like here's these two like, hoodlums saying like, "Lady, you're just killing it. You're killing it." And I was like, that was the universe's message saying like, you are killing it. Like you're on the right path.
Dude, that's so cool.
So you will always get guidance and life messages and people will come into your life that will provide you with information that you're looking for.
Hmm.
Um, just last night, I randomly was on Facebook and one of my friends posted on her status and she talked about how she's had MS for 10 years. And I had no idea. So if I didn't see this, I wouldn't know. And so I messaged her and we started
Wow.
talking privately. And so she's had a diagnosis for 10 years and she's been taking medication. And she was a really good source for me to be able to see, like, okay, well, what does she have? What do I have? And with MS, they call it the snowflake disease because each snowflake is different. And so they say that MS is
Yes.
so different in everybody that you can't predict how it's going to work in you. And I love being able to talk to her more about it because we're so different. Like unfortunately, she's had more symptoms than I have, and that's why she's been on medication. But she again assured me and believed in me, and she said, you know what, if you don't have any symptoms, then don't take any medication for it. And I'm not here to tell people don't take medication. I want everybody to make their own decision, just like I did, because it's so important that you make the decision with all the information that you have. So talk to your doctor and then make a plan with your doctor. I made an agreement with my doctor, like a compromise. And we said that if I have new lesions, then I'm going to start medication. But because I don't have any new lesions right now, we're just going to continue to monitor it. So we have a plan, and that's the plan that we're following right now. And I'm happy with that. Like, I'm happy to follow that plan, and I'm happy with that agreement.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Like, what, just work with your doctor. Because I feel that right now we are in a world where everybody has this very strict opinion on something. If you are on medication, you are on medication. Don't go to Google stuff. If you are spiritual, then you will never take medication. Like, I mean, just let's chill a little bit. Let's just find the middle ground, because we
I
are
agree.
spiritual people, but we are in 2020. Hi personal developer, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe to my channel and share it with someone you love. And also don't forget to activate the notifications so you don't miss a thing. There's a new video coming every Wednesday and Friday. There's another thing I don't want you to forget. You can be the boss of your brain. Yes, you can. See you next time.